Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. We only got a few more weeks of school left. So you guys will be kind of having your summer to enjoy. Anyways, today lesson objective is going to be a it's a relatively simple lesson. But today I want us to talk about, here it is. I can identify and interpret number patterns and graphs. Okay, so we want to be able to identify and interpret number patterns and graph. Now, one of the things that you'll notice in math is that you'll notice that there are a lot of patterns that you can pay attention to when you see in math. And I'll actually show you two problems that we'll do together. And we're going to actually look at graphs. We're going to look at some coordinate planes. We're going to look at a few things and use that to identify and interpret number patterns and graphs. Okay, so let's look at our first example problem. All right, so I have here, these are all come from a Green Apple Math. So I'll give you guys a chance to work on a few problems yourself. I'm going to model two problems today. Hopefully this video won't be as long as my previous videos, and you guys will find it beneficial. That's what hopefully you guys will find it beneficial. All right, here we go. Look at number, so this says that Jasmine and Harriet are sisters. Jasmine was born 4 years before Harriet. When Jasmine is 8, Harriet is 4. When Jasmine is 10, Harriet is 6. What other age pairs fit the pattern y equals x plus 4? So let me write this down really quickly. They gave us this one right here, y equals x plus 4. Okay, now this is known as an, let me just write it down. This is known as an algebraic equation. Okay, algebraic equation, math word to learn. An algebraic equation is simply an equation that has an operation and an equal sign with variables, or just these letters. These are known as variables, or just, unknowns or unknown letters. Letters that adds any number. Okay, notice that it says y equals x plus 4. You can also think about it and write it like this. It's the same thing, x plus 4 equals y. Typically, our equal sign is going to be to the right. In this case, it's the same thing. So notice x in this problem represents a certain age. It's going to represent Harriet's age. Okay, so x represents Harriet's. This is going to be Harriet's age. Okay. And y, let's do that with another color. Y is going to represent, that's right, Jasmine's age. Jasmine's, sorry, I spelled that wrong. Jasmine's age, okay? All right, so you got x, which is Harriet's age, y, which is Jasmine's age. And really, you can look at your answer choices, and if you read the problem, you'll see that. But look at that. Harriet's age is x. Jasmine's age is y. So we know that x, whatever x is, when we add 4 to it, it has to equal y. Whatever x is, if we add 4 to it, it has to equal y. Now, what we can do with problems like this is we actually need to look at our answer choices and see what patterns we notice. This is actually also known as I just want to also add this. This is known as a good definition to know. This is known as an additive relationship. Okay, reason why it's additive relationship is because you have an addition sign. There's two types of relationship. You have an additive relationship and a multiplicative relationship. And additive relationships involve addition. Multiplicative involves actually, as it sounds like, multiplication. But we're looking at additive. Okay, so let's see. It says x, Harriet's age, plus 4 is going to equal Jasmine's age, because it says Jasmine was born 4 years before Harriet. That means that Harriet that means that we have, I think Harriet is going to be older. Okay, so, or Jasmine is going to be older, I'm sorry. So, let's see. Harriet's age plus 4 is going to equal Y. Let's just go ahead and do these patterns. So let's see. Let's say Harriet's age, which is in this case, if she's 3, if we add 4 to it, is that going to equal Y7? Yes, so that part is good. Let's say we have 5, and then let's say if we add Harriet's age plus 4, will we get 9? We do, in fact, get 9, because 5 plus 4 is 9. Now, what about 9 plus 4? Is 9 plus 4 11? Well, let's see. That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, that's actually going to be 13. So this is not right. So we know it says what other age pair fits this pattern. We're looking at patterns. That's not it. Let's go to the next one. This one is going to be plus 4. Well, we already see that's incorrect because this is actually not going to be correct because 6 plus 4 is not 24. It's actually 10. So we know that this is going to be incorrect, and as well as A. In fact, this is actually looks like it's a multiplicative pattern. So if I do 6 times 4 is 24, 9 times 4. And yeah, so that's not, we're looking at addition, okay, additive. All right, let's look at this one. Let's see, 7 plus 4. Do we got that? 7, 8, 9, 9. Yeah, that's good. 9 plus 4 is 13. 14 plus 4, look at that. We have 18. I think this one might be my answer, but let me just verify by looking at this next one. Well, this one is 12 plus 4. Well, that's actually going to go down 1, and that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Jasmine's age plus 4 is going to give us Harriet's age, and as you see, when Jasmine is older, Harriet is younger. So you see that Harriet is older in this case. That's not the case. Our answer is C. So that's just how you use your patterns, using your additive relationship to solve this problem. Now let's look at one that involves a graph. And then I'll let you guys do some by yourself to get some good practice in. All right, let's look at this problem over here. It says, look at the graph. Okay, this is our coordinate plane. It says, which equation best represents the relationship between X and Y? Notice real quick some definition. Here in our coordinate, this whole thing is known as a coordinate grid, also known as a coordinate plane. This bottom part that goes horizontally is my x-axis. This is my x-axis. That's just a math term that's good to know. This one that goes vertically, this is my, look at that, y-axis. Okay? Now, we want to know which equation best represents this relationship, okay? So, we can actually use a table to solve this. You know, a table relates to a graph. So, I'm actually going to create my own table. It's going to be real simple. Here's what I mean. And you know what? When you guys come across a problem like this, you can do the same thing. So I am going to make a table, just a simple table, nothing too fancy. You know, it looks like a T. So I'm going to say this column is going to be my X, and this column is going to be my Y. And I'm going to look at my graph and use, sorry, my alarm went off. But anyways, I'm going to look at my graph and use my points in my graph to determine what I put in my table. So starting over here, I have when X is 0, Y is 0. So let's just say when X is 0, Y is 0. See, that's my first point over here, 0 and 0. This is known as an ordered pair. Okay, now over here, I see that 0 and I see there's a point over here. And halfway between 0 and 1 is actually half, 1/2, okay? 1/2, or you can also think of it as, 0.5, 1/2. Halfway between 0 and 1 is 1/2, okay? So when X is 1/2, so let's just do this right here. When X is 1/2, I guess I'll separate these like this. Okay, when x is 1/2, what is y? Well, let's see. Y is going to be over here. Now, notice this is between 0 and 0.5. Well, what's between 0 and 0.5? Well, you got 0, you got 1, that's half. It's actually going to be, you can actually cut this into 4 parts. That'll be 1/4 or 0.25, which is also known as 1/4, okay? So when x is 1/2, y is 1/4 or 0.25. It's like a quarter. You got 25, you got 50, you got 75, you got $1, okay? So let's just do that. I got that point. When x is 1, keep going. When x is 1, y is 0.5 or 0.5 or 1/2. I'm just going to put it as a decimal. They're all the same thing. Okay. When x is, let's just say when x is 2, not 2. Yeah, when x is 1.5 or 1 and 1/2, y is 0.75. Now, when x is 2, when x is 2, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 1. So what is the pattern that we are seeing here? What is the pattern that we're seeing here, right? So this is known as a multiplicative pattern because you can see that there's a multiplication involved. Well, let's look at our answer choices too and see. So notice how A says if you multiply, so when you see a number next to a letter, it just means to multiply, okay? So it says when you multiply 2 times x, or whatever x is, and you multiply it by 2, you should get y. Well, let's see this. If I say x times 2 over here, it does equal 0. That's a check. Now, 1/2 times 2 doesn't give me 1/4. 1/2 times 2 actually is going to give me, so 1/2 times 2 is actually going to be, that's 1/2 2 times, 1/2, actually that's going to give me, let's see, 1. That'll give me 1 because 1/2 is 1/2 plus 1/2, which is 2 halves, which is 1. Okay, so that's not gonna be my answer right there because that says x, when you multiply it by 2, you get to this one gives me 1/4. So that's not it. So let's look at the next one. 1/2 times 1/2. So if I was to do that, that's good. 1/2 times 1/2 on the other hand. So 1/2 times 1/2. Well, what you would do when you multiply the top by the top and bottom by the bottom. That's 1/4. So that's good. 1/2, 1 times 1/2 is going to give me 1/2, which is the same thing as 0.5. So that's good. 1 and 1/2, or 1.5 times 1/2. If you did the math, that does give you 0.75. And 1/2 times 2 gives you 1. So my answer is B. Okay, so hey, that is all I have for you guys today. I'm going to give you some practice. If you guys need some help, I will be actually hosting a Google Meet class if you need some further instructions on this. But I want you to try it by yourself. I'm going to post on the link some problems that you can practice by yourself. And you guys have fun, enjoy yourselves today, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.